Oh, good times. All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We're joined today by a longtime friend and supporter of the show, and I've always loved her work before.
Aw.
And it's been so long since I've actually talked with her in person. Ironically, since at least 3 years ago with Fan Expo Canada, which I'm hoping for that to change with maybe this 20th anniversary. If you happen to be there, I'm not sure if you will or not. But we're joined today by Fall On Me creator which is at littleteacup.net/fall on me. Adriana Blake. How are you doing today, Adriana?
That's been pretty good. Good morning.
Morning. I know it's so early. It's crazy.
I know. Well, gotta get your day started sometime, I guess.
I personally, I'd rather be in bed, but it is what it is.
Oh
So
well.
whatever. For those that have never actually seen or read Fall on Me, can you tell us what it's all about?
It's essentially a journal comic, in which I chronicle just funny moments that take place in my life. Yeah, it started off mainly just like relationship, like between myself and my husband. But I think little bit by little bit I'm trying to encompass a little bit more. I mean, sometimes it could be my own insights or my own little happenings by myself or even my husband alone. We have two pet birds, sometimes in vain, all of our pet birds. And with the upcoming addition to the family that might happen in July, I've been also including some pregnancy-related comics here and there. Since, well, obviously it is a big part of our lives now. So, but I mean, still trying to keep it, lighthearted, funny, cute, that sort of vein.
That's wonderful. When you first, doing journals are difficult. It's ironic you bring up journals because I'm with this creative writing class. I have to write a manual. I have to go old school, actually write a physical journal throughout the entire 6-week course here. So when you're doing it as a comic, as a biopic of sorts of your life, um,
Mhm.
how does that help you creatively?
Um, oh, I hadn't really thought about that, even though I've been doing this for a while. I don't know. I mean, like the what I found is that I don't know. It's just it kind of helps my thought process in a way sometimes, like in how I digest certain experiences in my life, because they become, if I may, like tangible, I guess, like just by putting them down in some sort of medium and then putting them out there and sharing them with people. And what I found through the years is that as I look back through the comics is that even some of the events are so mundane, yet at the time they meant something, either just because they were silly or for whatever reason. That and I'm like, I'm actually glad I recorded them in a way, one way or another, because it's almost kind of become like a diary or a chronicle of my life, or well, and obviously those of my loved ones as well. But so I don't know. In a sense, like I just find like, oh, this is kind of neat. That I used to kind of almost like a little time capsule in a way. I'm talking from my own perspective. I mean, like it's also been a bit of a bonus that I've had people actually interested in following along with me, like through the website, and actually be a bit invested in our little quirky happenings. But yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. It's great to see that you. Some people take journaling to a different level, and the fact that you include comedy, you include all emotions, you include sadness as well as happiness and everything along that line. Uh, how have you kept those creative juices flowing, so to speak, in terms of your day-to-day life with this particular comic?
It isn't always easy. I did take a hiatus last year. Yeah, last year, because I was feeling a little bit burned out. I mean, at first, like the comic was created out of what I felt necessity, because I was in between jobs. I was having a hard time finding a job since moving to Canada from the States shortly after getting married. So I felt like the need basically to have something that would keep me busy without going, nuts. So I created this project for myself. So in a way, like that kept me going, and I had like the momentum, I guess, to just kind of keep, write down a lot of ideas, and then just make them into comics. But then after I was able to finally get full-time employment, which is great, which was the whole point from the beginning, I found it a little bit more difficult to then divide my time between, full-time work plus the comic, and obviously, just having a life, which is kind of the source material for the comic in the first place, right? So yeah, it so to be fair, like I always try to write more than what I need, like in terms of like anecdotes and things that may work for comics. So I always felt I had a generous cushion to fall back on in terms of material, but it did start feeling after a little while that I was kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, if you will, and I was just kind of not as excited anymore. And not because I didn't want to continue with the comic, but I was feeling like I wasn't putting my best work forward, or recording the most interesting stuff, but more like it just kind of became like a bit of a chore, cause like, oh, I'm doing it because I gotta do it because that's what I've set up. So I was like, okay, I think I need a break, step back, and give myself a chance to recover, and even just like, again, like I said, live life, like so that things can actually happen that may hopefully become comics later, So that plan worked. I did miss drawing the comic during that time, but it turned out to be the right thing. And then back, yeah, like the February of this year, or has it been? No, sorry. Oh my gosh, I've already been drawing it for a year already. February of 2013 is when I started it again. So it's during 2012 that I took the hiatus. Sorry. Oh my gosh, time is flying.
I know.
But anyway, yeah. So since then I picked it up, but I've been taking it easy. Like I realistically thought, okay, I'm still working full time. I don't want to be spending my entire weekend drawing comics. I mean, it would be nice in a utopia of sorts, but realistically, I knew I couldn't really do that. So I've just been doing one update a week instead of twice a week, which was what I had originally set up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss the twice a week updates, but at the same time, right now, once a week is the best I can do without feeling pressured or, too burned out again. Or so I'm playing it by ear, and hopefully later I can get back to the twice a week updates, or if not more, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, you also have a little one on the way, so I wonder how your time management skills are going to be when it comes to that regard.
That should be interesting. I honestly, like, for a while I was hesitant. I mean, like, I knew that, well, both my husband and I always knew we wanted to start a family, but from my end, I was a little bit hesitant. It's like, how can I balance art, which is super duper important to me? How can I balance like my art career plus obviously, family? Like, obviously baby is very, child is very important. So, and obviously my husband too, but like the whole like family dynamic that we'll now kind of plunge into. But I don't know. I'm going to play it by ear. I've been getting a lot of support and advice, and just overall encouragement from other ladies who themselves are artists and moms. So I'm like, okay, so it's not like a rare species, like not like this rare unicorn that doesn't exist. So it can happen. So I'm just gonna take it one day at a time. Obviously, I envision the first 2 weeks is gonna be, I'm probably gonna be MIA, but I do hope to, get back to things, and I don't know, just come up with a routine that makes sense, that can allow me to do both, like take care of my family, but also stay active in art, comics, and yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Oh, definitely, for sure. What was some advice? Because this is the first time I've actually had someone that's about to give birth, which is wonderful. It's the first for my show, so that's great. What was some advice from the other artists, other female artists that have managed to continue their art as well as raise a child? Maybe that would be something interesting for those watching this as well, that it is possible.
Well, okay. Again, of course, this is secondhand since I myself haven't had my kid yet, but in general, they all tell me, do not worry. Like, just, you'll be fine. Just take it one day at a time. And oddly enough, most of them tell me that somehow having a kid makes them more productive, which I guess it's just like it kind of motivates them to be much better time management,
Mm-hmm.
which I can see happening. It's almost like time becomes a lot more precious, therefore you have to then use it up, more like effectively, rather than just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna just stare at the ceiling now and maybe think about this movie I want to watch. You won't have time. I won't have time for that anymore. So it's kind of like, to make it happen, then you have to, like, okay, here's a schedule or here's a time chart, and just boom, 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 go for it. So we'll see. I mean, like, that's at least, again, for me, this is right now theory, since again I haven't lived through it myself yet, but that's so far what I've heard. But the general consensus that I hear is just like, yeah, you just take it one day at a time, and like you figure out what's best for you and your family, and yeah, just go from there. And but yeah, like time management seems to be like the number one thing that just have to just sort that out. And obviously as the babies get older, they do become a little bit more independent. So you get little pockets of time you can kind of work with. And obviously that's a team effort. Between, like, myself and my husband, and so on and so forth. So here's to hoping. So apparently, from what I hear, again, like I said, like the first year or so is probably the most challenging, since like they're the most dependent then. But hopefully a little bit after that, then you start getting a bit into like a swing of things, like a certain pattern that works for you and your work, and just let's hope they're right. Haven't heard otherwise so far, so we'll see.
Definitely. When it comes to the comic itself, and take this as it is, when you first started creating it till now, have you ever had any creative mistakes that kind of just found its way into the comic itself?
Creative mistakes. The only two I can think of, and they're not like super major, but one was that I never designed the characters and then drew the comic. I just kind of designed them as I went. So the look of the comic varies greatly from like the first one to the latest. I mean, in some ways, I kind of like to see that. I mean, because it kind of shows me, oh, how far I've come. But on the other hand, it's also a little bit embarrassing. Also, the lettering, I found, like, especially in the first few ones, it was a little bit too small. Like, it's just a lot of things that I just kind of learned. It was a very, like, school of hard knocks, in the sense of, like, I just learned as I went, because I never thought much about what would come ahead. It was just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to do this comic strip now. And I'll just do this comic strip tomorrow. And just kind of just very spontaneous that way, improvise. So I mean, there's a few things that I wish I could go back and kind of like just make better, but I won't. I mean, because otherwise I'll just get stuck in the past forever, and I'll never be done ever, and I'll probably never make new comics ever. But yeah, so at least from the artistic point of view, that. And then story-wise, I think for the most part I'm okay with like the content of even the earlier strips, but I think there's a few that there's a few in which sometimes like the translation from English to Spanish doesn't work as well, which sometimes it kills me, because like I can have like a really funny situation, or like what I consider like a comic-worthy situation happening, and well, it's always going to be in English because my husband and I communicate to each other in English, but then when I go to translate it to Spanish, it may not have the same effect, I guess, feel, or I mean, again, like the typical lost in translation kind of scenario, I guess. And I don't know. So I like, now what I do is that I opt out for, like, okay, if it doesn't work in both languages, I just don't bother, which sometimes kills me a little. But at the same time, like it's important for me for it to work in the two languages. So anyway, that's what I can think of. But I mean, like, again, nothing major, but just more like just little things I've just learned along the way. But
when do you feel your work is actually finished?
I don't know when the deadline is coming up. um, I don't know. I mean, uh, yeah, I think it's just kind of I always go with good enough. I mean, like I'm never ever like super satisfied with my work. I just kind of I just go, okay, this is good for now, and I hope the next will be better, and I just kind of like just keep going. Because again, like if I fuss too much over the one that's sitting in front of me being absolutely perfect, I'll
Mm.
just never get done, ever, ever. Like, oh, the anatomy, this finger's a little bit too thick, or oh, this eye is not exactly in the right spot. What, I can't do that. And I'm like, it's just cartoons in the end when it's all said and done. I mean, like, I'm not saying it's not important to improve, but I mean, like, when it's all, like, at the end, like, it's just like, if I nitpick it to death, then again, I won't go forward in a hurry. So. Yeah, and again, like I'm actually, like I said, like I mentioned before, as a mistake, but it is kind of nice to see the progression of the artwork
Mm.
from the first one till now, because it does show me, oh, there has been improvement, there has been something, taking place, and that's encouraging,
Mm.
even if it
Um,
is a bit embarrassing at times to look back.
but progress is always a good thing. It shows
Yeah.
improvement. It shows nothing to be afraid of, and that
Hmm.
it's a fun glimpse into your life overall. It's wonderful to see. Um, obviously you've been doing this for a while. You're enjoying it. You're successful in that regard, and people are reading it constantly, so that's always nice to see. Um, do you consider yourself personally successful?
I think so. Again, like I haven't taken I'm not in the mindset of making this like this at least this particular comic like my main career or main source of income. I mean, not to say that I wouldn't like to see that someday, but I mean, right now, I mean, it started more, like I said, like more or less a hobby, and it's kind of sort of stayed that way. So in that regard, I mean, from that mindset, I would say it's more successful than I could have expected. I mean, if anything, I was thinking, oh, I'll read this, my husband will read this, and my mom will read this,
Hmm.
and we'll all be happy. But I've actually had a lot more readers than that, from all across the world, and it's very humbling. That's very nice. And it's opened like a whole new world to me, in the sense of like comic conventions, other comic artists, and this like just step into this amazing community of people, and I really enjoy that. So if anything, if anything, it motivates me to want to keep exploring and kind of keep just see where it leads. Like I don't have like a set plan. So right now, I mean, I feel pretty good with where I am. If later on the opportunity comes that I'm like, okay, well, I want to give comics a chance as a full-time gig. I mean, we'll see. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So I feel successful now because I mean, like it's done much more than I ever set up to do with again with this current comic. But we'll see what the future brings with any other projects or anything else. Yeah, because I mean, like, yeah, my day job is still in animation. Well, obviously not right now, since I'm on my leave, but and in that sense, that's also been for me, like it's been successful, but it's always like, oh, there's always you can always do more. You can always explore more. I mean, I don't think it's ever ending, and in a way, I enjoy that. I mean, like I think if we ever, or at least in my case, if I'm ever stagnant or if I ever like stop at a certain point, it's like it's too boring. It's just like, but yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling now.
Excuse me. Um, in terms of conventions, then, I see. I was looking on your page, and you went to a few conventions and some mini gatherings as well too. That's wonderful to see. Um, After all this time since we've last talked, at least 3 years, what has been the most surprising thing about going to conventions these days? About your specifically in
um,
regard to reaction to your comic.
I think in general, it's just I mean, the overall general gist I get is just a sense of community. I mean, like we're all there. We're all, we're all geeks in our own right, enjoy, doing what we love and enjoying what we love to do, or even, even if you don't make comics yourself, I mean, we read them, we talk about them, we share them with others. I mean, it's nice. I mean, it's almost like a little pocket out of like the rest of the world that allows you to, just share with other people that you may not get the chance to do necessarily. I mean like outside of like the internet and social media and stuff, you actually interact with people in person, and you can be like, hey, this comic, or oh, this other thing, and you get to interact with other artists. You get to, and it's enriching. I find it a very enriching experience, and even like a good learning experience. Like I've made many friends this way, and I mean, we're still in touch today, and it's great. It's just again, like, we learn from each other, we encourage each other, we just yes, it's great. That's honestly, I think, like my best experience. Well, that's how we met. I
Of
was
course.
at Fan Expo behind the table. You happened to walk by, and hey, let's have an interview. There you go. So that's
It's
just a
just
nugget of the whole experience that I've had so far with comic conventions, which is great. So yeah.
that, and you didn't tell me to get out of here, kid.
Oh no! I was flattered, actually. I'm still flattered even now. Like, just yeah. Thanks for wanting to spend a bit of time with me on this interview.
No, but it's fun because you see something in a comic. You don't know what it is specifically. You don't know if it's the art or if it's the writing, but when you talk to the creator, like you and I are doing here today, and even though it's a couple hundred miles away from each other type deal in the grand scheme of social media and
Hmm.
connectivity and all that jazz, it's that personal connection, like you said, when it comes to conventions, and you never know if you're going to see that person next year or whatever along that line. So you take advantage of whatever opportunities you're given. And I know you're doing that with your comic, and you have a wonderful husband and soon to be a baby on the way. And
Hmm.
yeah,
No, it's like I honestly think that's been one of my most positive experiences. And I think it's also been very rewarding, because even through the comic, like, getting in touch with some readers that have become regulars, if you will, like, that constantly, like, either message me or interact with the content of the comic, or share it. I mean, and that to me, like, it means a lot. I mean, it's like, I'm obviously, I'm fully aware, just like I'm just, I'm just a person that draws, like, I know they're, obviously on the other side, like, I can only imagine, like, what goes through their heads, like, when they read my content, and then they actually choose to make it part of their lives, even if it's just for a few minutes of their day and or their week. And I don't know, that really means a lot. I find it very humbling, and yeah, no, it's really great.
good stuff. Obviously, you're going to have a younger generation appearing hopefully soon, and I'm sure he or she will look up to you as an inspirational person that you are, and as well as your husband too. Um, and other people that read your comic find you an inspiration as well. Well, it's true. Don't.
Oh, thanks.
um, how can the younger generation inspire the generation that follows them?
um Let me think about that one a little. um I All I can think, at least from my perspective, is just do it. I mean, I know it sounds like a stupid cliche Nike commercial slogan thing, but it's true. I mean, like, I mean, like, a lot of, especially now with, like, the advent of social media, which I find does help a lot in, connecting people. I mean, obviously, personal interaction is still, to me, like, the top, but I mean, when that can't happen, I mean, social media definitely helps in getting yourself out there and your work out there, and, like, get yourself known and at least share. Um, it's easier now more than ever to actually, just, yeah, like I said, like, share your work with the world. I mean, if anybody wants to, I mean, like, oh, I want to make a comic, do it, put it out there, done. Oh, like, it's, or I want to write blah, okay, do it and put it out there, done. I mean, there's no really, like, any middle person, or any, like, barriers really anymore, which I find fantastic and
Mm.
super super amazing. So I would say it's just and again, like it's don't be afraid of your first attempts not being perfect. I mean, like I forget who said this. If it was, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not gonna attempt to remember because I don't know who said this, and I'll have to like get back to you and on the quote exactly. But the what I read not long ago was basically like sometimes it's better to be done than to have something done than to have it be perfect.
Mm, I've heard
I
that
mean, like
before.
it's because it is true. I mean, like if you wait for things to be absolutely perfect, or for your for your work, for your whatever it is, singing, voice acting, animation, comic, blog. If you wait for it to be absolutely like impeccably perfect, it'll probably never get out. I mean, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Don't be afraid to just let it out there. I mean, you're not alone. There's tons of people out there that are going through the same journey as you are. And if anything, you can find some kindred spirits, who are going along the same journey as you are, and you can actually, learn together. Pat each other on the back whenever, or just like, just go hand in hand, and then just cross path. And that's actually part of the fun, part of the whole experience. So like, don't shy away from that. Don't think it has to be like, through some big publisher. I mean, if it is, great, but I mean, a
Oh,
lot of stories nowadays have started with just people that just get things done, and then after they get things done, publishers notice them, and they're like, hey, well, we want to be on board with this, and then like help them, reach out even wider audiences, and that's great. But I mean, you know, don't wait till like some magic fairy comes along with a little wand saying, I'll give you your break. You got to make it yourself. So that's the one thing I would say. I mean, whether you're doing it as a hobby or as a career or whatever outlook you have towards whatever work you want to do, I just say, yeah, just do it.
awesome. Good stuff. Um, is there anything that I haven't brought up that you'd like to let those that are watching and listening to this know? Because we're on YouTube and we're on iTunes, so it works out both ways.
No pressure.
It's only
um,
the world, you know.
uh, huh. I'm trying to think, and nothing comes to mind. My mind's a blank right now.
Oh,
Um,
the
no, I don't know.
website, any
Sorry.
conventions? Yeah. The website, any conventions, anything like that?
Oh, well, well, even before I knew about, upcoming baby, I decided to take a bit of a break from conventions. I felt a bit burned out for that, and I wasn't
Hmm.
really offering anything new on my table, which made me feel a bit embarrassed. So, no conventions this year, unfortunately, till further notice. I will let people know on my website and social media as soon as I get back on it.
Hmm.
Yeah, the only ones I did this year actually were just a tea festival, which was just like a gallery showing. So I didn't really have a table or anything, just kind of just artwork hanging there, which was pretty neat. It was different, but it was really cool. And then our small one in Cambridge from the local Cambridge library, just called Cambridge Comic Arts Festival.
Nice.
And that was just the one day on Free Comic Book Day, and that
Hmm.
was fun. It was laid back, chill, but I mean, it was really nice. And the difference of that event versus other ones is that because it was in a library and it wasn't, excuse me, it was also a free event, and like people from all like backgrounds came in. Like some people
Yeah.
even just coming to the library for something else and just bump into this event. Oh, what's this? And then they get to discover comics, or just discover that we exist and our work exists, and it's pretty neat. So
We're not just in our bubble.
yeah. Yeah, we are out there, we're real. uh, but no, it was really nice. But yeah, that's the most I was able to do this year feasibly. I do have plans on going to the Toronto Animation Arts Festival. Oh wait, am I spelling that right now? Well, anyway, TAFI. I'm sorry. I think Toronto Animation Arts Festival International. Yeah, I think that's what it
Oh,
stands for.
okay.
The acronym
Okay.
TAFI. But I'll only be there as an attendee on Saturday. So if you see a waddling pregnant lady with curly hair, feel free to say hello. And I highly encourage people to go. There's going to be an amazing amount of workshops, and they're actually starting like an artist alley of sorts,
Really
which is also free admission. So it's really cool.
nice.
So it's just to encourage animators like like myself who have comics or just artwork on the side to actually showcase it and
Hmm.
sell it. So that's really neat. Other than that, yeah, I'm not doing much else other than just taking it easy.
Yeah, I would hope
Um,
so.
yeah. So I think that's kind of it as far as like conventions and stuff. And then, well, and again, like I'm still drawing the comic until I can draw it no more. And then I may take a bit of a break till I can just pick it up again. But
Mm.
that one I'm playing by ear, of course, since I don't know exactly. Like these things are never scheduled to a T.
No,
So we'll see.
definitely not. That's wonderful, Adriana, and I thank you so much. It's been far too long since we've had you. I'm
Mhm.
glad you're back on the show, and I hope to see you back maybe next year if time permits it. I should say
Yeah.
if life permits it.
Yeah, yeah. I've already had people joking. It's like, oh, just make your kid, like run the cash register, or just
Exactly.
get them started early. You're like, all
Yeah.
right, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it was a running joke with a friend of mine who gave birth, and she played video games online, and she goes, well, when the kid's older, he or she is going to be going to the fridge to get mommy a beverage every so often,
Nice,
so I can
nice.
keep, it's like little child labor is what I was going to say. So that works out well.
That's funny. I'm kidding. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, definitely. To the best of my ability, I would like to stay active and not disappear completely. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, and you're on social media, and maybe in a couple of years I'll be up in the Toronto region, and
Great.
for the film industry, and we'll have to catch up and
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
about
Let's
jobs.
keep in touch for sure.
And well, I hate to say it, everyone, but that ends this episode of Two
Oh,
Geeks Talking. I know it time flies.
time
It's
flies.
and that was of course Adriana Blake from Fall on Me, which is what was the website again?
Littleteacup.net/fall on me. And if there are any readers that speak Spanish and might be interested in reading in Spanish as well, it's littleteacup.net/cuenta conmigo.
Did you want to say that in Spanish for our Spanish listeners?
Si les gustaría leer mi cómic en español, también lo tengo disponible en littleteacup.net I don't know how to say / in Spanish, I just realized. Cuenta conmigo.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. See, we're international now. Yay!
Yeah!
Now all you have to do is teach your little one English, French, and Spanish, and you're
There you
all
go.
set.
We'll be set.
Good stuff. And well, again, you can of course see this particular episode and the over 600 other episodes on our website, tgtmedia.com. You can, of course, watch a good variety of our interviews from past comic conventions, as well as interviews like this one here on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/TGT Media. And finally, our iTunes as well is available on iTunes. Search for Two Geeks Talking. Our Facebook is, of course, facebook.com/Two Geeks Talking. Our Twitter is just myself at Kurt Sasso, as you can see down below. And finally, we are on Patreon, so you can support us on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Two Geeks Talking. And you'll get access to interviews like this. You'll get access to ask questions, which will be answered first on the show as well. And there's other aspects as well, including the famed Webcomics What's Cooking cookbook, which is actually still around. I have too many copies that are behind me way over there. So there you go. And thanks everyone again for listening and watching. Tune in next interview with another wonderful and great talented creative person. Thanks for watching.
Bye.